Supplements, Hills and Valley Pharmacy, and the Spice Isle Imaging Center. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first Doctor and Call program for 2025. It is indeed a pleasure to be back, of course, after quite a little while. It was a break for the Christmas holidays, and then I proceeded on vacation for a bit, and we're back. So it's our first program for 2025. Of course, I trust that everyone enjoyed their Christmas vacation and that the new year has started well for each and every one of you. We are happy to have you back, our viewers on GBN Television 711, our listeners on K105 FM, and our friends on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. We're back, and of course, as always, we will be sharing with you lots of information to help you with your wellness. Yes, and that's very, very important. This evening on our first program, we have some very, very important information that we need to share with you. Some of it, of course, hinges on what is happening maybe regionally and internationally, and how some of these things can impact us as a people, and of course what we can do to sort of minimize the impact it may have on our wellness or our health. So once again, thank you for staying with us. It's a pleasure and welcome. Of course, as I said, Doc is with us this evening. And so it is a good time to welcome her. Of course, it's been a while. So, Doc, good evening and welcome back. It's been a while. It's so good to see you.
It's been 2 whiles.
Indeed. It is.
It's been great, and to our friends and relatives, everyone in the diaspora. It has been a very challenging 2024, and I don't know how well we can be prepared, but what we're going to do is be as organized as we can and be prepared for whatever will come our way in 2025.
Yes.
20% has gone.
Definitely.
Have we done? There are lots of not so good news coming out of, in the health sector. For example, despite all the work we've done in diabetes in the last 20 years, we've seen that we have 4 times as many people with diabetes, disease that we can prevent. And, I think it's time for all of us to stop talking. Maybe we're all talking at the same time and are not listening to what's being said. But it's time for our populations, everybody in our countries, to just get on the bandwagon and start working. We have to start doing things that will control the diseases that we've been seeing around. And so on this kind of bad note, I want to wish everyone a very great 2025. I hope we can work together. I still am going to ask you to learn at least this year probably 3 things on the program, because there is going to be a lot of information to share. And we don't want you to just sit out there and accept. We want you to look at what's being shared. And of course, be discerning and don't be afraid to ask questions, because it's very important. That's how we teach, by people asking what they don't understand or what they don't believe. That's okay if you don't believe. But participate in, become very active in taking care of your own lives. I've seen too many young people die in the last, and by young, I mean people who die prematurely, 30s, 40s, 50s, and even 60s. If you die before 70, you die prematurely. And a lot of people who have died have had diseases that we have control over. There are other things, of course, and the other things where we can improve our health sector delivery of care in order so people can live a little longer. But trying to remind everybody that it's your responsibility to stay well, and we will work along with you and deliver the best. And of course, we have to advocate so that the Ministry of Health and the government at large provides the very best it can for our population so that we can live longer and live better. Not just live longer and even better, more well. You spoke about wellness. Lives that are really, led by us being well. I think we have really bad reception because I'm seeing green spots on my screen.
Yes, there's been and you sort of a little cracky a bit, but I'm sure. Yeah.
Not very, very good out there.
I'm sure we're gonna get over that. Doc, you mentioned some very important things there. One of the things I want to sort of reinforce is, our listener participation. We want to make this year's programs very participatory, interactive. We definitely need you to ask the questions, and share with us experiences. This will only help.
Of course, because
yes.
people don't take action because they may not understand. It is important that all of us are on the same page when we finish here, right? Basically, that is a basic understanding of what the challenges we are considering and how we can get rid of those, how we can mitigate those challenges, how we can make it better, how we can eliminate them, how we can remove them from our lives, right? Because a lot of us have similar problems.
Of course. So, folks, we need to participate, and ask the questions. This is why we're having, such a program. It's a program to share information. Just keep in mind that Doc will not be able to diagnose you on the phone, but definitely she can do so much more if you visit her office, and she's at the Bruce Street Mall. First floor, Doc? Yes. Second floor. So remember, folks, yes, you can ask your questions, we can share the information, but when it comes to diagnosing the problem and helping you to deal with it, we encourage you to visit, you can visit Doc at her office. And of course, so much more, definitely can and will be done to help you as much as possible. In fact, only today I was doing some reading as it relates to how, in terms of aging, one of some of the important things to do is to keep your mind active, especially with information, good information, a proper diet, proper rest, exercise, and of course, in fact, the final one was emphasized heavily: regular doctor checkups. It's important, and sometimes you're walking around and you probably feel all right, but it doesn't mean you can go to the doctor and do your regular checks, because there are some things that start, as we say, small. It's like them little potholes in the road, but if unchecked, then you find that a whole project has to be done. So you don't want a project to be done on you. You want to just stop that pothole in its track and prevent it from getting any further, and that can be done by having your regular doctor checkups, right? Because the doctor, the physician, will know a lot more than you, and to know what to look for, right? Because you may have, for example, a headache, and myself and Doc was talking just, you may have a headache, but there are hundreds, and I'm sure Doc would agree with me, hundreds of different things that can cause a headache. So if you have a headache, don't sit down and say, well, it's because the sun hot. No, that is not your place to decide that. Visit the doctor, explain what is happening, and let the doctor make that diagnosis. So that being said, Doc, you mentioned 2024. Let's just reflect a little bit before we move ahead. In terms of our health sector, so to speak, your daily interactions with people, of course, the medical fraternity, what is happening. How would you analyze 2024 as it relates to our health sector?
So I guess we can all agree that our health sector is deficient. It's immature. It's underdeveloped, and requires change and growth. Basically, in order to have a successful health system, you have to have some things in there. You have to have finances, people who are qualified. You have to have the drugs to give to the patients. You have to have the diagnostic equipment. You have to have access to care. People can get there. You have to have, these days, one of the things is the issue of the internet and keeping data so we can keeping information about patients, right? What are patients' readings? What are we seeing as a result of the medication? So we can do research and make this sector better. And I guess in almost every sphere, it's like 7 categories. In almost every category, there is deficiency. Some places are good enough. I think our benefit, our first advantage is that we are a small population, 100,000 people. That's what you find in one little city in a bigger country like in the US.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Companies almost, right? We have 120. That's putting it far, right? They say 112. I think on a day when it's raining like today, it's probably less. Everybody stay inside. Bottom line is that we have a relatively good population for research. 100,000. Everything comes per 100,000 for the most part. But we still have a lot of outreach. Okay, we have to develop our healthcare infrastructure, and I know there is that trust within the health sector to push it back to really having primary care as a center of care. And primary care means the health centers and the primary care physicians like me, people who see you first, right? So whether you're going to go to your doctor, your GP like me, or you're going to go to the health center, right? That's primary care. What is the responsibility of primary care? To prevent disease, really. Right? That's what we prevent. What do we do? Vaccines. We do nutrition counseling. We do prevention of childhood obesity. We do prevention of cancer, whether it's by weight loss, doing your vaccines, whatever it requires. Whether you prevent alcohol, and there are probably a couple of things you can talk about because there has been a lot of new information. So that's what our thing is. Is your pressure good? Are you within the normal, appropriate health, appropriate range for your blood pressure and your blood sugar? Do you have mental illness? Are you managing stress and depression? Do you understand? Are you employed? How are you handling that? How you live? What do you eat if you don't work? If you don't earn, or if you work and you don't earn? All of those things are the things that are taken care of at the primary level, and to prevent disease. Okay, so even we screen early, so when you go to the doctor, you get your breast examination, your prostate checked. Your dentist is also a primary care physician, because dental health is very, very important, right? All of those things happen at the primary care. And if you stay okay, you go there and you kind of overhaul. Like how you have a new car and you go down to McIntyre Brothers every month. If it's a Honda, wherever you buy it, Isuzu, you go over to Hubbard's, whoever you buy your car from, right? You want to keep that car as well as possible. And so we have to start with our children. What do they eat in school? Do you give them money and they go to the sweetie shop in front of the school, or they buy corn curls and foolishness and sweet biscuit and the bag sock that the lady bring and sell in school? Or do you ensure that your children have water to drink, give them a fruit, and they get tuck shop lunch, which for the most part tends to be balanced? As we improve on the school nutrition product, the school nutrition policy, school feeding is going to be not something that just children who we think can't afford to buy food, but the same thing for all the kids, so everybody can be equally healthy. Proper proportion of carbs, which are necessary for energy, the fats that children need for their brain development, the proteins for growth, and all the rest of it. So we need to make sure that all of those things, right? We have well child clinic, we have antenatal clinic, all those things at primary care that keep us well. Vaccination program occurs at primary care level. We have an extended program of immunization, where the 10 shots that are on within that program, right, we ensure that the children get them. We've seen parents who choose not to get their children vaccines, but we're going to be in trouble soon, because I heard the new president of the United States saying that he's going to defund WHO. They're going to get away from the WHO. Now, the WHO is the one who funds a lot of our healthcare, so primary care. They support, they do guidelines, they do auto research, they collaborate with agencies like
CARFA in Trinidad and so on.
No. Beyond that, National Institutes of Health that do global research, CDC that does, disease management and research, National Institute of Mental Health, a whole lot of stuff. So if WHO cannot afford to reach out, we're going to have to figure out how we're going to manage this on our own. And therefore, we have to make sure that we don't have to do secondary care. Secondary care is when you go to hospital and you have a stroke, or you have pneumonia, you have to go into hospital, or you get measles and have to isolate you, or you have Zika and all of those things, right? High blood pressure, you understand, heart attacks, all of those things come under secondary care, and tertiary care, which might be a little more complicated situations, which we don't really have. We therefore have to strengthen that primary care level so that we can prevent as far as possible. And there are things that can be managed. Your blood pressure can be managed with your primary care physician. If you're taking your medication and you can't control your pressure, it's a different story. Then you can go into the hospital. Then you can go in and have a specialist take care of you. But simple things like blood pressure and managing your blood sugar, it's things that can be done with your primary care physician and your nurses in the primary care sector. And it's a collaborative thing. You're not going in there and doctor say, take 3 tablets. Tell doctor that's not how you want it, right? Let's say what is good. And explain to me what is diabetes. Take up your phone, my favorite thing, take up your phone and read. It's all there. It's even on TikTok, wherever you look, whichever platform you go onto, information is there. Some of us are distracted by information that is meant to distract us, and it's not necessarily the correct thing. There are a lot of conspiracy theories. We saw it during COVID a lot, right? That can decide, hey, this is what you do if you take X. I went to a conference in 2023, right? And we are talking about what we're going to do to prevent chronic disease the following year. You know what came up on the internet that day? How bear cures sugar. How bear keeps your blood pressure down. How bear, talk about Lager Bear, not calling any brands, right? How bear, and it came from a brand that we make here. Let's get it very straight. How bear would make you lose weight, and all of those foolishness. And we had to jump down their necks, down their throat like a porcupine going backwards, and say, hey, what is this? It was immediately removed from the internet. But when you put that, the gullible will take that kind of information.
Yep.
You have to look at the right sources to get solid, evidence-based information that comes out of research. Okay? You have to be responsible, and then you have to know what research is good. So there are a lot of things. You have to know, I've been on sites and read information, and it looks like it's a good research site, but sometimes they just spell one word wrong and you know they're wrong. When you look at who the writers are or how they present it, you know something is wrong here. And there are people who do that and make a lot of money, right? While putting us at risk. But we have to read. Just go to simple sites that you can trust. Like you said, World Health Organization, National Institute of Health, CDC, CARFA, Healthy Caribbean Coalition, and PAHO and sites that can give us information about the diseases we want to learn more about, the diseases we want to prevent in our families, right? So I think if our health sector is able, if our health ministry and the government in general, right, is able to develop a system, we as users are going to have to use the system in order to be well. You can't say, oh, that's all right. it's embryonic, and I think it can work. So, for example, currently I know that there is something that has been ready for the last 10 years, and that's called the HEARTS Initiative, HEARTS, okay? Which is, there was research done in Barbados and other countries as to what are the blood pressure medications that our population responds to, and that gives us protection against things like heart failure, heart attacks, kidney failure, strokes, okay? We know that if we follow a certain pattern, algorithm, if this doesn't work, use that. Start with this if the person has XYZ. If his pressure doesn't come, increase it. If that doesn't work, add this or subtract this and use these. So it is standardized for us in the Caribbean, and it's worked. I know it's going to be implemented at the primary care level in the clinics, and that is actually going to be supported by the presence of the medications, because the medications have already been imported into the country. But guess what? You can't keep it down unless you use the medication. You can't keep your pressure down unless you lose the weight. You can't keep your pressure down unless you stop eating 6 different salt meat in your oil down, which is next week's season. Okay? There are a lot of things that we are going to be required to do collectively with what has been afforded. In other words, I can't just walk in and say, Dr. Godfrey, guess what? I'm feeling so good enough. What's happened to you, Miss Nixon? I take much over, Miss Nixon. Your pressure has been high. You've been coming here for the past 6 years. Your pressure has never been controlled, right? Here's your medication. Look, you need to take this, that. If you feel X, come back. And I come back 6 months. Well, I never take the medication. Your pressure is still high, right? My pressure is still high. I never take the medication because it makes me feel nauseated the first day. I want to vomit. Because why didn't you come back on the second day? Right? So we're going to have to take responsibility for caring for ourselves. We're going to have to know how to manage. And manage is, what if I'm taking my medications as usual, yet I find my pressure is high or my sugar is high? I must be able to make a decision and say, all right, what did I eat yesterday? Maybe I eat a little too much of salt meat. Let me cut it down and check my pressure tomorrow. Or maybe I eat too much of the Marby that was so nice, or the sorrel that left over from Christmas in the fridge, put a little ice and I have it. But instead of having half a glass, I've been having 3 glasses for the day, and there's all this added sugar. So I have to think. So we also, like I said, we have to educate ourselves and empower ourselves, right? To work with the system, because you can have the best system. If nobody goes to it, is moved, you might as well not have anything, right? So hopefully, I'm hoping and I'm trusting the government to put into place what the people need, especially at primary care level, and especially because of what is going to happen if the President Trump has his way. And he probably will, because he has Congress and the Senate.
Yep.
There's going to be nobody to hold them back unless it's really, 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 really morally incorrect. All right? So those are some of the things, just empowering ourselves, right? Because the system alone cannot work unless we use it, unless we indulge in what are the facilities, what are the care systems that are placed, what is the medications, whatever it is, right, is there. Doctor gets frustrated when he's in the clinic and nobody turns up, because that's what doctor and nurse are there for, to take care of you. So hopefully, if you go to your private physician, turn up. The doctor says, I want to see you in 3 months. Oh, my grandchildren will come and spend time, and no, you still have to really take responsibility, and everybody's well-being and that of the families they supervise is theirs. It's their responsibility. So if I have my grandchildren, I must make sure that they have their shots, that they go to the dentist. You understand? They are eating properly, that they're not eating too much sugar and highly processed foods. What I'm giving them for break, I can give my children a mango or orange and they drink a glass of water. That's break and run up and down and play. Just buy them nice sneakers so they don't bounce their toe. But the bottom line is that we have to come together and figure out what is good for our population that's not going to cost us our lives. Because when you do have a stroke, you're going to be in hospital for 10, 15, 20 days, needing intensive care. We have shortage of nurses like everywhere else in the world. You have shortage of nurses, there's still shortage of medications, we don't have enough therapists when you have a stroke, etc., etc. So everybody should take the responsibility to try and prevent themselves from going to the hospital as a patient. And then people need to be in hospital because, old people will get sicker, you're pregnant, you can have complications. But that also can be controlled if you go to your antenatal care, your treatment, your mother's clinic, as soon as you miss a period. If you say, okay, I'm going to have a baby in the next 2 years, you start eating nutritionally correct, exercise, don't put on too much weight, put yourself in a space, right? If when you go to the clinic, the doctor says to you, Miss Jane, you have to do X, Y, Z. Don't complain that there's too many tests. There's a reason why they're being done. And I'd like to see you next month. Your pressure is high. I need to see you back next week. You need to cut out X, Y, Z. We need to follow the directions that we're given at primary care level so we don't end up in a hospital.
Right. Very interesting.
There's some intentions. I know there's also intentions. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
The green screen is coming back.
A little low, but I'm hearing you.
Okay. So I know that there's probably intentions also to get a national health insurance in place. I don't know where the timetable for that is, but that is not something that's off the schedule. Hopefully, we can at least have some positive sign of us having a national health insurance where we contribute and we have some of our own funds. And I think if we can decrease what we depend on, because when we have to depend on outside agencies to support us in healthcare delivery, it is what they say we can do with the money that we're given. And oftentimes there are other things that may be priorities that cannot be addressed because we do not have the funding for it. So primary care is everybody's responsibility, is everybody's duty to access, to make use of. So one, it can cost us less, and two, it will cost us less disease.
Interesting. And the national insurance, I think it's maybe something that we'd have to look at as a program in itself, because there's a lot of there's a lot of information about that can come out. But aside from that, we spoke quite a bit about some of the non-communicable conditions. What about the communicable ones? And we're hearing now of another virus. Not a lot of information about it yet, but just aside from that, there is this flu that's going around. People are coughing for lengthy periods. And all of these things. And there's always bacteria, viruses in the air, and all of that. And these things, they do impact us, especially and people who have other conditions. When you come down with these things, it doesn't help.
Underlying conditions.
Well, exactly, it doesn't help. So let's talk a little bit about that. I remember earlier this year there was an extremely bad cold, as people call it, was going around. People were very, very sick, and all of that. And of course, these are things that they come from time to time, especially seasonal. Christmas, Carnival, Independence is coming up. We're going to have quite a lot of people coming into the country, and these are times when
a lot of people coming into community.
Yes, yeah, interacting and all of that, and these conditions, they do spread. Doc, let's spend about 5 to 10 minutes on that.
I think we should speak about it. I agree with you, and I want, first of all, everybody to remove the mind of fear. Let's get away from fear and let's deal with the facts. So this new virus is called the human metapneumovirus. Guess what? It's one of the viruses that cause common cold anyway. What we've seen is that there's been a surge in the amount of people who have it and the severity of the condition that it brings on, the severity of symptoms that it brings on. Okay, but also apart from the it's not probably as big a problem as you said. It's been in the news a lot, and people who write news sometimes get quite hyperbolic about it. They make it expatiate. Let me get Grenadian here, okay? Talk about it a lot, make it look at this. But there's also an increase in influenza, especially in North America, and respiratory syncytial virus, which tends to affect mostly children and can be very serious and cause respiratory failure, cause challenges, severe respiratory illnesses, and requiring admission, including to intensive care. Right? So we are part of the northern hemisphere, right? We're above the equator. We're 12 degrees north of the equator. We're not very far from, very concentrated populations in North America. Everybody has relatives in Canada. Everybody has relatives, a lot of relatives, and more visitors from the US, right? And people come in here. We have students who go back and forth. We have teachers who go back and forth. And we ourselves travel a lot to North America. And it's very easy. So this is flu season. This is flu season. However, one of the things I know is would be what you'd like to hear. We do have climate change.
Of course.
How much time it rained by your house today?
Quite a few times. In fact, I was in the south for most of the day, and we had about 3 or 4 heavy showers, even up to around 6 when I was after 5 on my way up, I came up in some showers, and
St. George's, it rained almost all day. Intermittent showers, but it eased up, and before you turn, another shower is coming down. Not enough to flood the streets and stuff, but it's a lot of rain. That's for me, that is a little strange. Yes, we're still in the rainy season and probably soon going to dry season, but a little strange. We've seen what happened in the latter part of the year, how climate change, we're convinced that our climates are changing. How much blankets you needed last night?
Oh yeah. Well, I have a really nice thick one.
That's just
and tonight, in fact, the temperature tonight 24 degrees, same as last night. So it's going to be cold again tonight. On Wednesday, it's going to be about 24.5, but on Thursday, it drops to 23.5 degrees Celsius. So also on Friday as well. So the weekend is going to be nice and cozy. Have your blankets, folks. Have them ready so you can cuddle up. As the British would say, you can have a cup of tea before you go to bed. You keep you warm and.
Have a cup of tea.
Yeah, but I mean, it's good. It's good nighttime temperatures.
It's a seasonal thing, and what do we want to do? We want to first of all make sure that we're healthy as possible. Take your vitamins, your zinc, and all the things we did. Remember during COVID, we learned those concoctions. But just like during COVID, you're going to be responsible for preventing yourself from coming in contact. So avoid the crowds as far as you can. Mm-hmm. If you know you catch cold easy, there's no need to walk in the rain and walk. If you know you're like that, if you know, like we were saying, if you get dizzy, stay away from the rain and stay from the intense changes of temperature does cause a lot of inflammation in the airways and create a space for these viruses to come. Climate change means that we probably have a lot more viruses coming in because of what it is hotter than usual and stuff like that. So wear your mask, wash your hands. Don't put your hand in your face. Don't be touching surfaces. Cough in your sleeves. Teach your children how to cough in their sleeves, right? If you're going to blow your nose, make sure you get rid of the tissue and you wash your hands properly. Wash it. Right? And teach our children to do this. They learned to do that during COVID. It's just a matter of creating it as a habit. Right? We don't know what further years of climate change is going to bring us, but we've seen that consecutively we've had coughs and colds and stuff. So, avoid those, like we said, those mass gatherings that we have, okay? We have to think about the groups of people who are at risk for these colds, okay? Who you think? Very young, so children or babies, newborns who don't have enough coverage, enough immune coverage. Please protect them. So we have to protect ourselves if we're caregivers. And wear a mask. Don't be coughing over the baby and all the rest of it. All right? Don't allow the other little children who come home from school with the coughs to go around the babies. Or they have a cold and they want to play. It's okay, they want to play with the baby. Yeah, lift them up, let them play with baby toes. That's okay for now until we get better. Right? So prevent the vulnerable and even our little children who have asthma, children with cancers, children with other immune diseases, people with lupus, people with hypertension, diabetes, okay, pregnant women, and of course the aged, the older people whose nutrition and immune state probably are very, very compromised. In other words, who don't have the capacity to ward off the viruses or whatever bring on these situations, okay? Lots of fluids. If you should get some, don't take any ibuprofen, no Advil, none of those things, okay? Because remember, we still have mosquitoes around here. We still have Zika. We still have COVID, okay? Panadol, Tylenol is still for your fever. Sponge your babies down, take off their hat, Make sure you sponge the babies at the temple so they don't get fever up in their heads and cause them to have seizures, especially after 6 months of age. So there are a lot of things that we can do to make sure our families are better. There had been there had also been gastroenteritis, and I've seen it every so often. Please, mothers and people who care for children and even elderly, buy some of the rehydration salts. They don't cost a whole lot and keep at your house. Some you can mix in a whole liter of water. Some is in one of the 6 ounce cups. 6 4s are 24. Yeah, right. The 8 ounce cups. 3 8 are 25. Okay. So make sure that you can protect your children from getting the things of other. But remember, at home, charity begins at home. You wash your hands. Teach your kids to wash their hands. The other thing is that the flu virus is available. So people who at risk, people who have diabetes, who, like I said, who get the flu quickly, people with diabetes and hypertension and stuff, and other immune diseases can get a flu shot at the health centers once they qualify for it. So remember, and it's free of cost. So anybody who wants to get a flu shot, they do have some. It may not be for the whole population, but the people who think they're the most vulnerable, who get their flu shots every year, there's still some flu shots available. Because we don't want anybody to go to pneumonias that we can't take care of.
Right.
You don't have to be in hospital, have to be in ICU, and to pass on as a result. We still have some COVID. We've seen some COVID tests, some positive COVID tests. The truth is that some people tested on their own, and because we've had a vaccinated population, some people are not showing up with. They might have COVID, but it's not that bad. They take symptomatic medication. After patients take Tylenol and drink their juices and water and stuff, and they're good. And take the vitamins that they've been.
Doc, a quick question. As you mentioned this, are there the COVID vaccines still available in Grenada?
I would think so. I didn't ask the ministry about that, but I would imagine so.
Yeah.
And of course, there's capacity for rapid testing. If you have a cold and you're not sure what this is, and you may have had COVID before, just go into the health center and say, look, I send all my patients who have respiratory illnesses that they call, I'd like to come see you, go do your COVID test first. And I've had a few people who've had COVID, so I make sure that it's captured at the health center, it's noted for surveillance purposes,
right.
And I don't have to worry. And half of the time they don't even come to my office then, because they already know they have COVID and then spend less time mingling with the community outside. So there is still COVID. And of course there's still mosquitoes now that rain start fall. I see the tick style. Between them and the sandfly, I don't know who predominates, but there is mosquito, and remember where there's mosquito.
This past couple days, I don't think the mosquitoes and sandfly could fare very well with the wind being that high. the wind being that high.
Let me correct that. That's blow to me.
The wind is blowing them away. I think. Well, in my area, it's so windy that the mosquitoes they can't stand up in the air. They get blown away.
No. These mosquitoes are hawks. American helicopters, Black Hawks.
Yeah, that's your helicopter. That's your mosquitoes.
Those. Trust me, I've seen some mosquitoes fare through the wildest of wind, and they come in here. They fly in front of the fan like, "Hi, how are you doing?" and come and bite me. Okay, so these mosquitoes different, and people have to recognize, okay, that we still have COVID, we still have Zika, we still have dengue, we still have all those things because they exist in our community. So I might have mild dengue and I don't feel sick for 2 days, but I can handle it, right? And a mosquito comes and stings me and take blood of me that's contaminated, but it gets to go to you and it spits a little bit of that dengue virus inside of you while taking some more blood from it, because I don't know how these mosquitoes hold so much blood, because these mosquitoes look like after they finish suck your blood, you need a transfusion. That's how bad they are.
They probably have an extra tank where they keep it.
I tell you.
Right. So
they have a blood bank.
Yeah, I just want to just go back a little bit, because I like the area of the primary health care. I always believe so much more can be done. And I was listening. Our Minister of Health is Philip Telesford, right? I think, right. I was listening to him not long ago, and he was speaking about our our healthcare system, and he did admit that, there is so much to be done, and that, government has not, in any significant way, made any dent, and I think it was quite. I mean, I was happy to hear him at least admit that, there's a lot of work to be done. It says to you, look, we know what has to be done. We now have to, come together and do what has to be done. And doing that also includes us, because we have a part to play in all of this, So our primary healthcare system and at the level of the clinics, and so one of the things that I personally would like to see, and as we agree, healthcare is expensive. It does cost a lot, but I think if we find a way to sort of further develop our clinics, and it will help in a number of ways. So there are a lot of little things that can be dealt with at that level, rather than having to go to the hospital. So that would reduce the
but that is what primary care was meant to be. You probably have read the Alma Ata Convention, a document that was done in 1978. That is what was attempted to be implemented at the Grenada Revolution, right? And which wasn't very long. They focus a lot on primary health care,
because it's very important.
Preventative and supportive care, so that the hospital can be, the money you have for the hospital can be for really crucial.
Reduce the congestion at the hospital, so they can, people can get. And the thing is, if that happens, then the people who need the attention, they would get more of it, and it places them in a better position to sort of recuperate and to get better. But if you have a lot of congestion, and every little thing, somebody rushes to the emergency department, and you have people sitting there half a day waiting to get, and in some instances, these are little things that can be dealt with at the primary level if we have what is required at that level. I would love to see
better. Some people actually feel that it gets seen better if they went to the hospital, which is not true.
Well, that's a thing, and you see, if I would love to see a day when, if someone has a condition, our clinic, for example, can accommodate someone maybe for a night or two, and then deal with them and send them back home. But if you require, of course, things like surgery and serious emergency attention, then you go to the hospital. But so
and there are lots of things. You're right. A lot of interventions, like simple thing like going to the hospital, the surgical clinic, to remove a cyst. Those things can be done at primary level.
Well, there we go.
You can fix a hernia in a clinic.
Yeah. If you have a fracture or something, I don't see why things like the cast, and so of course you may require some X-ray being done. But I believe there are a lot of things that can be addressed at that level and significantly reduce the congestion at our hospitals.
The Grove Health Center was meant to function at that level as a polyclinic.
Right.
Where you had just a little beyond basic care. You can get your X-rays, you can get there, the orthopedic will come see you, where you have some specialist care for. The St. Lucia has a very good system, right? Where you can get secondary, post-primary, not necessarily secondary and stuff, because they screen the patients through. So you don't turn up with a sinus infection at the hospital. Instead, you go to the health center or your primary care, who sends you to a system where you can be cared for.
Right. So, yeah, Doc, the telephone was going just now. So, folks, the line is open. You can give us a call, 435-2041. So, let's go to the telephone. I think we have a caller on the line with us. Dr. and Call, good evening. Hello.
Yes, hello, good night.
Yes, good evening, caller. Good evening.
Yeah, man. I listened to the program. I want to say good night to Dr. Nixon there. I hope the food tastes nice today.
I'm sorry, because I'm not here. You didn't have to translate. What did he say?
Well, I wanted to say good night to Dr. Nixon. I hope the food tasted good today.
I'll translate. He's saying that he hoped that the food tasted well today. So I maybe
All right.
that was your lunch provider. Okay.
Yes. So yes. So I'm glad that you bring up the topic of the care that people should be getting instead of going to the hospital, because you have somebody coming from Sotes who just suffered a mild stroke, or somebody who suffered a stroke, and they have to be rushed down to St. George's to be taken care of. By the time they reach St. George's, most likely they might die. If there's somebody who has a minor, they get a minor cut, they have to go down to St. George's. I think look at the place in Guelph, right? That medical station that they had in Guelph that they had to open during the COVID season. I think that should be used as one of the hubs, like for people who is in labor, people who might get a stroke somewhere far up in the north of the country. Before bringing them down, take them to that medical station so they could be stabilized and maybe move sometime on a later date. So I think that we need more of those kind of places around the country to alleviate the strain on the hospital.
Yes,
I think it's a good topic you guys have tonight, and keep it up, man.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Doc, he was basically just sort of expanding on the point I raised about improving our clinics, to address issues that doesn't necessarily need to go to the hospital. So he was basically, highlighting that.
So there's a phenomena where you have a referral system. So whatever you have, you should be able to call into a center and say, hey, I have Mr. John here, who I know who's 75 years old, who has had prostate, but he hasn't been able to pass urine for 2 days. That's not for hospital necessarily. That's something that probably can be solved even at a primary or regular clinic. But when we sufficiently structured, you can have what we call a referral system, where even before you get to hospital, there are clinics that offer services that are a little more sophisticated, I was saying. And that is where we're going to have to go. For now, however, I think we have to start at primary, right? But be able to, all patients should be screened at primary for referral, right? And there must be enough services for transfer, whether they need helicopter, whether they need minibus, whether they need cart, whatever it is, for transfer to where the service is. In other words, I may be in Grenville and go to Princess Alice for an emergency service, which I really need to be in the hospital, except that Princess Alice does not have that as an emergency. Let's say I'm throwing something into the wall and a piece of shrapnel from a nail gets into my eye. I really need to be at St. George's with the ophthalmologist and that kind of level, of care and so forth. But I should know. I can call Princess and say, hey, this is what happened. And somebody must be able to say, okay, Miss Mary, do you have transport? You need to go to St. George's. You had injury to your eye and your eye bleeding. Why are you going to Princess Alice? And short, lengthen the time that you can be offered care. If you don't, they probably say, can you come in and we'll organize for transport for you. But we're going to have to wait a little until we get it. That's a level of sophistication that is deserved by our population. But we're going to have to wait until it is prepared. Currently, we really just want to have that primary care where I can go and take my child from I'm pregnant, and he can get his first dental clean, and he can have all his vaccines and everything there. And so that the bigger things, the other things, when we can be seen at the hospital, where you need to have bigger interventions. Asthmatics can be taken care of at your primary care clinic. Or if you have like I said, a more sophisticated care, if you have a child who has had asthma, got medications at home, they probably can end up going to that secondary care. But the point is, we have to, one, structure it, and two, people need to use it.
Yeah. But I think.
And I'm not coming to the emergency room just cough and cold. Do not come to me. I'm not seeing you.
Yeah. But Doc, I think we have to also help people develop some level of confidence, because as it is, people, they feel differently. But let's just take a call. We have a caller on the line, and we're going to get back to that point. Doctor and Call, good evening.
Happy New Year to you and your host and Mr. Dr. Nixon.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, caller.
The Grenadian citizen can call their minister, contact their ministers to put aside in the next budget monies for the vulnerable and the elderly, for the health situation that's falling apart. Have a good day.
Thank you, caller.
I'm sorry, I didn't know what he said.
You were saying that he hopes that people can make an appeal so that the government can put more money into the budget for health.
And that makes sense, but the health budget was 16% of the last budget that was done. Remember, the budget is still pending, huh?
Mm-hmm.
The budget for last year because of COVID and COVID of burial and stuff, right? But the budget the year before was 16.7% of the annual budget. And while a lot of it goes into salaries, there may have been some changes, okay? We wish we could have more people. I wish we had a better staff to complement the level of care that has to be given, okay? But I understand what this gentleman is saying, but if health alone gets 16%, we still have education, we have national, it's not so bad.
But
we have a lot of other things, infrastructure, we have to think of all the priorities. Everything is a priority, but I understand what he's saying.
Doc, as you mentioned.
And again, if we were to use the primary care system more efficiently, the budget can extend a little further.
No, definitely.
For population well.
You see, and another thing, increasing the budget is all well and good, but I also believe that some monies from that budget should go to outreach programs to help educate people so they understand in a serious way that they can play a part in keeping themselves healthy. So for example, programs like these, like what we're doing, I also believe that, for example, the Ministry of Health, they can organize outreach programs, go into the community and talk to people. Let people come out, get them to understand. Because I believe
part they play.
Yes.
So the Ministry of Health does have a health promotion / health education department. So I still think they try, but there's a lot more that they can do.
But definitely.
One of the things that is my pet peeve, and everybody knows that, so I'm not saying it now because I'm on TV. We have health fairs all the time. Do you know what is the primary intention? What the primary intention of a health care should be? A health fair?
To share information, to educate. I mean,
to share information. However, we have 100,000 people, like I said, right? If you go, you will almost see the same people turning up all the time.
Because they're coming to get medical care. I think that's the general.
Thank you. And there's medical care, and I'm not quarreling with them. I'm just saying to the people who go to all these health fairs, okay. I'm saying two things. One, the people who go to the health fair is okay, right? But I want you to know that there are health clinics that offer you the same thing, where your records are. So, for example, if you turn up at my health, if I go to a health fair, and I don't even walk with my stethoscope, and I'm not writing any prescription. So if you see me there, know that I'm not here to treat you. I'm here to educate you, right? That is what a health fair is supposed to be. So I want people who use the health, it's okay that you have 150 people turn up at a health fair in a little community. That's okay. However, they should be imparted with knowledge, right? They should come seeking knowledge. Dr. Godfrey, the last time I came in, you tell me about how I eating too much mango. And I stopped eating mango. and my sugar come down, but it's still a little high. Here's what's happening. And they get counseling, and they have stuff to read, and they see things on TV, and they talk to other people who have similar conditions, who are able to overcome or who still having challenges. What can we do together? Let's go and walk tomorrow. When we go to prayer meeting, let's walk around the church instead of just sitting down there and eating bread and salty sauce. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Let's do this. Right? The other thing is that the people who are organizing health fairs need to understand what their responsibilities are. Your responsibilities is empower people. If I see you twice a health fair, it's what are you doing here again? Right? People come so they can get a sugar check. You can go to your pharmacist and get a sugar check. You can go to your health.
You see, and that's the thing. That I think that's the thing. So when there's a health fair, the culture of the health fair now is you go and you do free blood pressure checks, free blood sugar checks, all of these checks for people. So they come because they probably figure, look, well, if I go to the doctor, then I have to pay for that. So that little service available free, I would go and take advantage of it. And so they get a pressure check, their pressure high, you get some medication, and then you leave with no information at all. No
empowerment.
That's it. How to prevent that.
Some people don't even learn how to take their own blood sugar or their own pressure. Those are the things we need to be imparted to our people who come to health fairs. When you go to you have a place where it's enjoyable, right? Where they learn how much breadfruit to eat, how to cook the breadfruit, how not to use too much pasta, how to throw the pasta down for the dog. If you understand what I'm saying, you learn how to make food choices. You learn how much porridge you can drink in the morning to help to control your cholesterol. You learn why you're taking your cholesterol medication. You learn how to take care of your wound if you have a wound on it. People tell you about preventing loss of your limb, right? You learn about sickle cell and what do you do? What if you're a pregnant woman? If you're going to have a child, why is it important to go to the health center early? Those are the things that health fairs should be designed for, not to make numbers. And a lot of people do health fairs, and they're going to be upset with me, but understand me here. A lot of people plan a health fair because it's a thing to do for the community. No, not necessarily, unless you're going to empower the community. Unless the 20, 30, 40, 100 people, whoever turned out, leave better than they came. That is what I'd like to see, because I think half of the times it's a waste of resources. It's a total waste of resources.
I agree with you. I definitely agree with you on that, because what is the point you go into health fair and when you come out you have to go back because you don't know, you have learned nothing. You go to get your pressure checked, so the next time they have a health fair, I'm going back and check my pressure again to see where my pressure stand. But you should be able to leave a health fair knowing that, look, if I go home and I go and I eat a set of salt fish without removing the salt or salt beef or whatever it is, my pressure is going to be up. And so it's important, and I just want to just go back on the point I was making about the people not using the clinics as they ought to. And I was saying that I believe it's because of the culture of this thing has changed, and also the confidence. I think it's important that we teach people that, look, you need to have confidence in your clinic, in your nurses, and let me add here that our nurses and our doctors do have a role to play in helping people with their confidence. I know, for example, and I've been told by a number of persons, and I want to call his name, Dr. Andy Bernard, a doctor in St. Andrew. Numerous persons have told me that whenever he visits the clinic, before he starts attending to people, he lectures to them. He talks to them about what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. And I mean, it was the first time I heard that, and I was like elated. You've never heard of that. And I think that these are the kind of things that should be encouraged. So he speaks to his patients, he talks to them, he teaches them, and sometimes he quarrels with them. When they and I think this is also good, because people need to understand, look, you need to take your health seriously. So, I definitely would like to applaud Dr. Bernard on that kind of thing. That's the kind of initiatives So
patient empowerment. Patient people must know how to prevent themselves from getting hypertension. And remember I keep saying last year, everybody learned something. You know how many older people meet me and say, "Doctor, I listen to you every week, Did you learn anything?" "Yes, I learned not to put too much sugar in my tea. I learned to cut down on the amount of starch that I eat. I learned, I need to go to the dentist as regularly as possible. I learned how to make sure that somebody is looking at my toes. I learned how to look after my feet." People have to be empowered. You have to know that when I come out there, the focus of health delivery should be patient-centered. So you put a patient in the middle and you empower him. The nurse helps him how to take his insulin. He's taught how to do his sugar, how to make a log of what he's eaten. And I ask some patients, write a log of what you've eaten, taken medications, see what it is. I mean, look at the patterns. What is it that make your sugar go up? And they learn. You know what happened? It was my grandchild brother, and I eat 2 ice cream cones instead of 1, and I still go and eat with my greedy self, go and eat the whole plate of rice the night with chicken. Do you understand? So they know. And you say, okay, you understand. This number, what do you think about this number? Here are what your numbers are supposed to be. So people become, you don't want them to be anxious, but you want them to know, no. Let me get on the program with this. My sugar has been a little high. My A1C is going. No, my patients can talk about A1C. I need to do my A1C. It's so much months again. Do you understand? Nobody can call and say, "Dr. Nixon, when?" I must go and know. They might forget the date, although I read it on the forms. But they know that, boy, I think it's time coming for me to go and check my A1C. They know what the A1C should be. I don't come and say, "Boy, you go kill me because my A1C is a little higher. It was 6.2 the last time, it was 6.4. But do you understand? That is learning. That is taking responsibility. We are here to support and inform. We know a whole lot more, but we have to impart a certain level of knowledge. We as caregivers, the nurses, the doctors, whoever it is out there, the physiotherapist, it doesn't really matter, the pharmacist, everyone in the health sector, especially at primary care level, comes as part of the team that makes sure that we teach people how to live and how to live well, how to prevent these diseases coming on. How many people go to the doctor and say, I need a mental health check. I just want to do a mental health check. I want to check it. I've had schizophrenia in my family. I'm concerned about my son. Wait until he has a break? No. I want to make sure that things are okay. I've been having challenges at work in my work center. How many people use the Employees Assistant Program, which is a psychosupportive, right, for psychological support phenomena that exists in a lot, especially in private sector, and spreading towards our other organizations, and should be in the primary healthcare sector, right? That I'm not coping well, and mental health should be part of the normal caring for people, especially for people who are under stress, single parents, people who have been doing substances, people incorporated into life, getting over or having been diagnosed with severe illnesses like cancer and stuff. All of this should be something that's involved, and people must not fear talking. Must not fear. Our lawyers must also recognize when their clients who have been faced with severe trauma require mental health investigation, not just getting the money compensated, but when you get the compensation, at least, right, you can have some presence of mind to say, okay, let me enjoy myself, I'm over this. Or people who are facing incarceration for long periods, right? We have to look and see how the mental health also of our population is considered, and we must have it at hand. Those are primary healthcare issues.
No, definitely. It's so important, and I just want to reemphasize that I think, the Ministry of Health, with the programs that they have on stream, I would love to see some more effort being placed in, outreach, awareness, education, because that will definitely help people. And when people have information, Doc, I've realized it, even with me as an individual, when you have information and you use it and it works for you in a positive way, your confidence shoots up, and it makes you want to know more. Next thing you feel that you're a doctor for yourself, because you have so much information and it's working for you, and that is so important.
And then it becomes a responsibility of the physician to put it into perspective.
Yes, of course.
I have a friend who's my patient who had a problem, and every day I kind of knew what the problem was, and every day she will send me something that she reads from the internet, right? And then when she comes back, I say, okay, here is what, and I really appreciate you seeking all this information. It's nice that patients have information with which to work. And the information that is sought is usually information that's based on evidence, okay? It's not this side say that, this side say that, we must drink this, right? And I said to her, I don't have a problem with you reading. As a matter of fact, I'm happy that you're reading it because it makes us work together better. Here is what. Remember the other thing. She said, I'm not a doctor. I said, no, you're not a doctor. But I have a responsibility to make sure that you use that information appropriately for your well-being. And we're on the same page, right? It's easier to manage. We have to encourage our patients to seek information.
Yes.
People have to go there and seek. And we must be available also to our patients when they have questions about the information they sought out. So they mustn't come anxious. They mustn't come like they know everything. But they must come ready for dialogue,
right?
And feeling better, because you could have looked at the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Or I may have not seen the right thing because I'm quite fallible. I'm a very human being.
Yeah. Doc, let's just take a call. We have a caller on the line. Doctor and call. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes. Good evening, caller.
Hello.
Yes, we're hearing you. Go ahead.
Yes. What I want to say. I am a very old person. Let me close my radio. I am a very old person, but I still know how to take care of myself.
That's right. Lovely.
You listen?
Yes.
You hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you very well.
Hello?
Hello.
Me.
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, I'm hearing you, caller.
Okay. Yes, but what I'm trying to say, some people are too greedy. They like to eat everything. They know the sugar is high. Right about now, I'm not using no sugar, no milk, no this thing. Wait. Not salad, macaroni and pie. I use my tea without sugar. Anything I use without sugar. I take Sarinanol without sugar.
Right.
And my sugar always in the 90s.
Excellent.
Or 100 and something. Sometimes it don't reach 100 and it's the maximum. And I took my sugar every morning and my pressure, and I mark it out because sometimes I have to go to test my blood to see if I have kidney problem, and everything is okay.
That's nice.
So
That's
I'm
nice.
living very good. Nobody don't tell me I stop drinking milk because it used to upset my chest. I live it on my own. I start drinking everything I started to use, and I understand that it affects me. I live it.
Leave it
So
alone.
the only thing I use is my provision. I have a little sweet potato as rice. And that's all. I don't use plenty fish, saltfish. Most time I told them that I don't want all that. So I always keep myself fit.
That's nice.
I'm 90 years old.
Congratulations, caller. Thank you very much. That's excellent. Yep. Thanks a lot. Yes. Doc, were you able to hear her?
Nothing.
Right. So she said that she's 90. She does not use sugar in anything. Her blood sugar reading is usually in the 90s, and she's doing well. And I think from what she's saying, she understands very well what she has to do, because she said when she checks her sugar and pressure, she writes it down, because from time to time she goes to check her blood and all of that. I mean, and this is 90 years old, and your blood sugar is in its 90s. This is excellent.
Remarkable.
That is excellent. So there was another thing I wanted to raise, and the time is flying go. Our bodies speaks to us. And I think sometimes we need to pay a little more attention and listen to our bodies, because sometimes we get the signals and we don't pay attention. We need to pay attention and listen to our bodies.
But it has to be a habit.
Yes.
You know your body from. If you're drunk every weekend, you won't remember what you feel when you wake up Monday morning. It's because I'm drunk. I'm serious.
No. Of course, yeah.
You have to be in sync with your body. You need to know when something is coming on. Right? Is that my dog knows when it's going to rain. He fights me to go outside.
Mm-hmm.
If he starts barking, I know it's going to rain in 3 to 5 minutes. But that's how he responds. His body knows that the thing is changing. We have to become very aware of what we are, right? Who we are as an individual, what is good and what is bad. And each one of us is going to be responsible, or we're responsible for the younger ones or the ones who are vulnerable, right? In relation to their preventing illness. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you have a child who you've never given sugar, and somebody give him a licking on ice cream and go to,
doesn't taste good.
Don't like this. Or they might have sweet stuff, but it's not that sweet. Like when they buy sugar sweetened beverages. And they give it up. Because their body knows, and they know their bodies. They know what they need. I'm sorry. Right? So you're going to have to learn to understand who you are by listening to your body. But you first need to know your body, okay. And that's why we have, again, primary care, where you're going to get checked.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to wait till you get sick. You don't have to wait until you get sick to go and see the doctor.
Well, of course not. That's the thing.
This is what our problem is. We wait until we're ill. Especially our men, which for me is one of the greatest challenges we have in our health sector today.
Indeed.
That our men don't take appropriate care of themselves. And by the time they turn up to the doctor, they're just ready for the undertaker. And that's unfortunate. We still are a society that's led by males, right? We are a patriarchal society still.
Yeah.
It means that men are going to be required to lead. But not if somebody said to me, I went to the hospital the other day. They went to have some elective surgery. Something that you just didn't have surgery for. It's not like they drink or they smoke, right? But Lord, so many men in there with amputated limbs. All men are required to run their households and to lead and to teach their boys and to show their daughters how to do this and to make sure the house is fixed and to make sure that things are good for their families, that they lead families. If they're all amputees with low self-esteem, how are they going to do that? So we have to learn early what it is to feel well.
Mm-hmm.
And then only from there we know when we don't feel well.
Indeed. So
I want to segue since we're talking about men. You have a caller?
No, not yet. But I just
I want to segue since we're talking about men. I'm very concerned about the level of prostate cancer that we're still seeing. I'm very concerned that our men have not chosen, and we're going to have to cajole them, encourage them. It's going to be a big task for the females of our country and the men who are already aware of the importance of prostate health and general health for men, because I think it's a general health problem.
Mm-hmm.
We drink too much, we smoke too much, we eat too much foolishness, we don't exercise sufficiently, we don't check on ourselves to see when we have diabetes or hypertension, and it becomes a challenge.
Right. So, Doc, just take a pin for 1 sec. We have a caller. Let's just take that call. Doctor on call, good evening. Hello. Good evening, caller.
Ask him to text his question.
Hello.
Hello, Godfrey.
Yes, good evening, caller.
Good night to you and to the doctor.
Yes, good evening.
I'm close to 89 years old. When I was a young man, I used to notice that when women went out with their babies during the day, if they didn't have a pram, they would have a bonnet or whatever on the head. Mm-hmm. But in recent years, one sees babies carried on mothers' shoulders under the influence of the hot sun during the time of the day when the temperatures are up. Now, does that have a negative impact, or can it have a negative impact on the development of the child? And the second observation is this. The doc reminded me a while ago of Dr. Japal, the late Dr. Japal, who used to lecture his patients. Sometimes in the middle of attending, there will be a problem, and he used to spend 5 minutes lecturing patients on healthy practices, etc., etc. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Right, so Doc, he's asking, he's asking about babies. So, for example, he said that years gone by,
what?
babies. No, so you're saying years gone by, when women had their babies, they would have a bonnet over the child, cover the child from the hot sun and so. Now he's seeing, mothers walking with children and they just bear hot sun, So he's asking if that can have some negative impacts on the child's development.
I don't know about development, but I would think more of the immediate care.
Right.
And of course, I want your child to be dehydrated because his brain can be affected. So that's one of the things.
Right.
So it's hotter than it was 5 years ago. There's no two ways about it. I don't go out in the sun if I don't have to. And when I go, if I'm going across town from the mall to go onto Halifax Street, I walk through the little alley because I don't want to walk in the sun. Despite how it smells, I walk through there. Okay. I try to avoid the sun as much as possible, but I can make that decision consciously for me. I often, when I see mothers in town with their babies, sometimes I think they have on too much clothes, because they put on many level of clothes and then wrap them in a blanket. That is also a little dangerous for the baby, right? But put on comfortable clothes and make sure you wear an umbrella or something so the child don't get the direct sun. I also see some mothers who just bring their young babies in town just so it's not like you're going to the doctor or anything. There's no need to expose your child to all the crap that's out there. People with colds, with COVID, with whatever it is, you don't want your baby to be exposed to all of that, right? I encourage young mothers, when I see them, to find a corner to sit in the mall. I've seen women sit in the mall and breastfeed a baby. We don't have that. We don't have that kind of politically correct challenge or incorrect challenge. Mothers sit. I've seen a lady in church breastfeeding a baby and get up and walk around the church while she's breastfeeding, right? That level of freedom, okay? Appropriate or not, she was breastfeeding her baby. So I encourage young mothers, and maybe we should remind them, don't be afraid, be polite, and ask mother to make sure that baby is appropriately covered because it is hot, right? And babies, the heartbeat faster than we would do. And if a baby were to lose 2 teaspoons of fluid and I lose 2 teaspoons, his 2 teaspoons of fluid is a whole lot more to his little body than what 2 teaspoons is. So we need to encourage them. Like I said, I don't know about the development. Remember, we're still kind of new in this whole climate change thing. But I think certainly we have to make sure that our children don't become dehydrated.
Right.
And I would not expose my child to all of the bacteria and viruses that exist, especially like we've been talking around.
Yeah.
Around now. It's going to be a little.
And as you mentioned that quickly, a quick point. Now, a lot of women now they have their babies in prams, pushing them around in the streets and so. I've always wondered whether if if that's a good idea, because I'm thinking, so you have this child, low down in a pram pushing, vehicles going up and down, dust is lifted in the atmosphere, that child is inhaling that. I've wondered, it's probably not a good idea to have children. I mean, if you're home around the yard and you give the baby a little thing, that's one thing. But in the street, pushing a baby in a pram and exposing that child to, inhalation of dust and also, clearly, it should be discouraged, in my opinion.
And what I would discourage even further, some of the mothers who put the baby in a pram and zip it up. Because they don't want the baby to be exposed, and they zip the pram with a plastic cover, and that child is sweltering inside there. That's even worse. I really appreciate when moms put on their harnesses and have the babies closer up to them.
Yes, right? yes.
On the head, the baby's close to you. You know when he's uncomfortable, you know when he's sleeping or when he's not. And I'll tell you something I experienced. A little girl, I was in a store. She's married and has her own kid. And she probably was about 6. And we were in a store one day, and somebody made a wind. And she was so distraught. She was so distraught. So that's another thing. The offense that children
yes
when so close to the ground. So we want to provide as much care and protection for our children as is possible.
Right.
And also, the closer the child are to you, the sure you are that the child is okay.
Yeah.
The closer you have that baby to you. And I agree, a pram is a thing. They can put him to sleep, or if you're in the veranda, I can go for a little walk up the road and come back. But not to be around to.
That's yeah. It's Well, Doc, I tell you what.
Talk about the environment and how contaminated it may be, especially now that we have so much Sahara dust in our environment. Those are other things that your baby, we put him in a pram and put him up. Right, inhaling all of those things that have fallen out of the sky. So I think,
and then the carbon monoxide from the vehicles and all of that. Carbon monoxide is a poisonous gas. So it's clearly not a good thing. But Doc, the truth is we're out of time. Time has gone and left us, and I didn't even realize.
So there's 2 things I want us to keep in mind. 2 things, not just 2 points. I'm not going to extend. One, the whole issue of childhood obesity. We're going to be talking a lot about that in the next few weeks. And we did mention men and men's health,
yes,
and particularly prostate cancer. But childhood obesity, I'm going to ask parents to start thinking about it and what their roles are. The activities, we want to increase water as a preferred beverage. Water as a beverage a child should be having every day, and exercise. And of course, removing all the junk. But for the year, you want to talk about activity in children and drinking more water instead of drinking sugar-sweetened beverages.
Yes, indeed. Doc, thank you so very much. Wonderful discussion. I enjoyed it so much, and I'm looking forward as we continue to share more information throughout the year. With our people out there. Wellness, a priority. I was talking to a gentleman's supermarket not too long ago, over the weekend actually. I didn't see him for a while, a retired police officer, and we were chatting a little bit, and I said, how are you doing? I haven't been seeing you in a while. He said, man, I'm just there enjoying life. I said, well, excellent. He said, listen, man, I can't be bothered worrying about what is happening. He said, when I wake up in the morning, that is enough. Life is too sweet to be bothering about anything, and I smile, and you think about it, just waking up in the morning and seeing the beautiful sunshine or the clouds, or the birds flying around, and it is just a wonderful feeling. And that to me is enough reason to do all you can to stay healthy so you can enjoy these beautiful things for a long, 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 long time. Well, thank you all very much.
You speak very much of a very important topic, the whole topic of spirituality. I'm not tempted to be religious. That awareness of self and the awareness of a higher self and in our relationship with whatever spiritual being we worship, right? It's very important, and especially installing this in our children's life, because there is a lot of challenge currently, right? The internet has its own challenges and all other things. But that's for another day, because we can talk about internet and internet safety in relation to mental health and all the rest.
Yes, indeed.
But spirituality, people need to breathe that breath of life anew every morning and be aware of it and who I am and where I am and how I treat everybody and how I accept the way people treat me or not. Right. It's very important, the whole spiritual component of our lives.
Yes, indeed. It was indeed, yeah. Doc, thank you so very much. I'm looking forward to being back next Tuesday where we can continue our discussion. To you, our listeners, we thank you so much for staying with us. Those of you who called, shared your experiences, your questions, we thank you so very much. Our friends on Facebook and YouTube, thank you for staying with us. We look forward to being back with you next Tuesday. Tomorrow evening we have a very special program. We're talking a bit of sports. My guest will be Mr. George Goatee Robinson, a renowned sportsman, coach, you name it. He's been involved in community work at all levels, sports, culture, so he'll be joining me tomorrow evening right here on K105 FM and GBN TV from 8 o'clock. We'll be having a lengthy discussion, his contributions, what is happening, sports in Grenada, his development over the years. We have Olympians, we have world champs, all of that. We're talking sports tomorrow. So join us tomorrow for that at 8. So thank you very much. Just before I leave you, just to share with you the weather forecast for tonight. It's expected to be partly cloudy and windy with brief light to moderate showers. The temperature tonight, minimum temperature 24 degrees Celsius, same as last night. So have your blankets, your whatever it is ready to cuddle under. It's going to be nice and cool tonight. The wind northeasterly to easterly at 12 to 22 miles per hour, gusting higher at times. Night before when I got up, my floor pots were on the ground. It was really, really windy. So, folks, pay attention to that. 22 miles per hour, gusting higher. That's high wind. It can. It can throw down a couple of things. So keep that in mind. And of course, higher gust with showers, so we can get some showers a little later on. The sea is moderate to rough with waves 7 to 11 feet in northeasterly to easterly swells. And remember, fishermen, there's a marine advisory in effect. So if you're going out there tonight to fish, please make sure you have all the necessary emergency gears. In fact, don't go. Wait until things kind of calm down, and then it's better to be safe than to be sorry. So high tide, was at 8:30 p.m. It's going to be low again at 2:30 p.m. All right, so. That's just the weather for tonight, and it's valid. It was valid from
10 seconds. I need 10 seconds. It's SJC St. Joseph's College in Georgia's 150th anniversary celebration. Mass on Saturday morning at the cathedral, and then concert on Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock at Trade Center. So we'll be there to celebrate the best girls in Grenada.
Yes, indeed. All right. So, folks, thank you very much. Remember, partly cloudy and windy. That is with brief light to moderate showers. Temperature 24 degrees Celsius. All right. And, of course, the winds northeasterly to easterly at 12 to 22 miles per hour, gusting higher with showers, which means that the wind gust or the strength of the wind or how high the wind blow can be more at times than 22 miles per hour. So picture this, a vehicle traveling at 22 miles per hour, you know what can happen. So keep that in mind. Thank you once again, folks. Don't forget, tomorrow I'll be back with you from around 5 o'clock and we do it all over again. Until then, have a good night. All the best.